Big news today on the NSA. Apparently, the NSA now has abilities, or has had, we're just discovering, to contact and get into computers that are not even connected to the internet using radio frequency technology. To talk about what this means for us, we're joined by Dr. Mihai Nadin. He's a professor, author of the book, Are You Stupid? Dr. Nadin, thank you for joining us in WILS.
Yes, you're welcome.
How should most of us answer that question of, are you stupid?
The question is sometimes very simple, and it means, do our actions reflect the fact that we care for the world in which we live, or we don't care, we let others care for it?
Do you think most of us qualify as being stupid?
What qualifies in the first place stupidity is the attitude according to which we don't care for others, and in other cases, our actions are so destructive that they are affecting not only us, but also others. Those are the stupid actions.
Certainly, that does sound stupid. This NSA story as a whole, how long have you been tracking it?
I was tracking it for a longer time because in my book, I'm talking about the very sad perspective that if our country, the United States, is not waking up, it might implode like the Soviet Union. And one of the arguments that I bring in the parallel between the United States and the Soviet Union is the extent to which in the Soviet Union everybody was spied upon. And in the end, under the load of what it means, the type of resources you need to spy on everyone, the system broke down. Right. It might happen to us as well, because if we look at the costs involved in this operation, in which not only the NSA is active, the NSA is now painted as the big evil. It's not only the NSA.
Right, but don't you think a lot of the work of the NSA has actually avoided further terrorist attacks in the U.S.?
If we would have evidence to this effect, I would belong to those who would say, if you can keep us safe from terrorists, do it. But there is no evidence.
No, but isn't that evidence part of the national security? We're not really going to get to see that kind of evidence?
No, that's not really true. Think about the sad moments, just to give you one or two examples. Think about the sad moment in which we have a huge military intelligence unit, but they did not know that Major Nidal Hassan was preparing to kill the people who he eventually killed at Fort Hood. He killed 13 people and wounded 30. Think about the Boston Marathon moment. That's not a moment in which you can say that we were very successful, and such examples can be given.
Right, but security professionals will say, look, we stop many attacks. Terrorists have to be, lucky just one time to succeed. We don't really know, though, how effective the NSA is, do we?
We know, to be very honest and to be fair towards the NSA and the other agencies, we only know how costly they are. But how effective, no. However, they committed a couple of mistakes which, in my opinion, we should not simply ignore. They affirmed at one moment, their representatives, hey, we were able to prevent 54 attacks. When the members of the Congress who are entitled to look at their data looked closer, they said, there are no 54. You don't have evidence for 54. In other words, they came with data that was not really demonstrating the effectiveness of the program.
I'm talking to Dr. Nadin. Mihai Nadin. Where are you from originally, Dr. Nadin?
I'm originally from Romania, and I experienced a society in which to be spied upon was not the exception. And putting the two and two together, I want to tell your listeners, as I want to tell those who are going to read my book, and I hope many people will read the book, this is not an issue of privacy. If it would be only an issue of privacy, I would say, no big deal. There's nothing I want to hide, and I don't think that Americans want to hide anything. This is an issue of freedom. And why do I say it's an issue of freedom? After a big earthquake in the city in which I was living in Romania, and that happened in 1977, Many people in Romania discovered that they had in the walls of their buildings microphones. Guess who produced those microphones? Western countries, such as Germany, such as the USA. And at that moment, we felt very bad because we said, are these guys accomplice to the government in taking our freedom away? Well, it's not different here. Somebody is taking some of our freedom.
Right. I mean, do you really feel what we see here in the U.S. now in any way compares to your experience in Romania?
Definitely not. And not only that, I would still claim that this is the best country one can hope for and one can dream for. I'm, in this case, very interested in defending my country so that it does not become vulnerable. But at the moment when the Americans are now subject to being observed and to being surveilled, I say there is something more important that happens here. It is a limitation of our freedoms.
Right, but when we talk about what's coming out now, from a lot of it from the Snowden leaks, this use of radio frequencies to reach computers that are not online, all kinds of different techniques that are now being revealed, isn't that damaging to our national security?
May I ask you and your listeners a question? Have you had a chance to read some years ago, 4 years ago, a very interesting set of articles published by the Washington Post? In that set of articles, they were talking about the hidden world growing beyond control. Nobody at that moment got nervous. We're getting nervous now only because a guy like Snowden is coming with some details. But the article in the Washington Post was a warning to all of us, all Americans who care for their freedom. Wake up and take the responsible path. Ask your government to live within the Constitution. And unfortunately, what is done to the American citizen is against the Constitution.
Well, we'll certainly have to talk some more. Dr. Mihai Nadin, he is a professor, author of the book, Are You Stupid? Find him online at areyoustupid.us. Dr. Nadin, thank you for joining us on WILS.
The very best to you and to your listeners.